All right, Shalom. You ready? Okay. And welcome to our Feast of First Fruits. When we examine the things that Yahweh has given unto us, we see that He has prescribed a certain order of things, and it would only make sense that the Creator of all things would require the first of our things as honor unto Him. So, looking at this, we read certain things about making these appearances, but it is amazing that first fruits is one of the things that's least understood about these holy days. And the amazing thing of that is it is directly connected to the Mashiach. So it is amazing that that is the part that we would leave off. We're going to begin tonight in Leviticus chapter 23, and we're going to start at verse 4 because we still get, those questions. I think I had an email right before we came in that they were still trying to figure out, these things of first fruit. So a lot of times, we kind of get into a comfortable place. With my elder living when he was alive, it was some things that, I didn't think I would ever have to do. So I wasn't really going into it on that level. And I can honestly say with his death, I had to step up on a different level, which is what he was trying to push me to do while he was alive. And I mean, I dealt with some of it. I just didn't deal with all of it. So let's begin at Leviticus 23, and we're going to read verses 4 through 14.
These are the feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh's Passover.
So I did not want to have any other thing. I wanted to show the days on a calendar so that we can understand the 14th day of the first month at even. This is not April 14th. We begin ours when the new moon is. And when the new moon, I did get a question about that as well. The new moon is when it is completely dark. Why? When you examine what is happening in the heavens, there is complete alignment between the earth, the sun, and the moon. And that is why it is dark. It is completely in alignment. That is the beginning. After that, then you start seeing the stages. Then you start seeing a couple of days later, you see the sliver. Then you see the first quarter, and so on and so on. So the complete opposite of new moon is full moon. So, and in the full moon, of course, it is going to be completely a fully lit moon. You can tell where we are in the process of our month based on which parts of the moon are showing. It is going to start growing on, I think, the right side first. You start seeing that, then it fills all the way up to the full moon, and then it basically starts decreasing from the other side until it's nothing left that's glowing. So you can be gone for a while and just look up in the sky and know what part of the month you are in. So when Yahweh does these things and he has orchestrated this, keep in mind, there's nothing written. As he's telling them about how to keep these days or when to keep these days, they don't have to walk around with a manuscript as far as a calendar. That calendar in the sky. All they got to do is look up. We carry this around. If you even ask us what time it is, all of us go pulling out our phone. We don't even know what day it is without the phone. We don't know anything without the phone. We don't even know phone numbers without the phone. All they had to do was look up. So Passover, as we're showing on this calendar, ours started the 18th at sundown. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto
So
Yah.
the next day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread began the 19th. So you have Passover. The very next day is unleavened bread. Go ahead.
7 days you must eat unleavened bread.
So then what you do when you're counting your days, you have Passover first, then the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's day number 1. You count those 7 days. So now you know when the unleavened bread week begins. And keep reading.
In the first day you shall have an holy convocation.
So the first day of unleavened bread is a Sabbath. Go ahead.
You shall do no servile work therein.
No matter what day it falls on. This time it happens to fall on a Sabbath. It was Friday night at sundown. That is a Sabbath. So we had a high holy day. You had one that fell on the Sabbath, and it's already set to be a Sabbath. So it doesn't matter which day it would have fallen on, it would have been a Sabbath. It would have been, it is orchestrated that we have a holy convocation. Go ahead.
But you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. In the 7th day is an holy convocation.
So then it ends with a Sabbath. Go ahead.
You shall do no servile work therein. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest.
You shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. Go ahead.
And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Shabbat, the priest shall wave it.
All right. Now it's telling you when the Feast of First Fruits is. On the morrow after the Sabbath. The first day of unleavened bread is the Sabbath. The very next day is first fruits. Passover, day 1. Feast of Unleavened Bread, day 2. Feast of First Fruits, day 3. Automatically dealing with the Mashiach. Christ is all in this in the Old Testament. It ain't like Yahweh didn't know what he was going to have to do. He knew exactly what he was going to have to do. Go ahead.
And you shall offer that day when you wave the sheaf and he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto Yah.
That's Yahshua. Go ahead.
And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the 4th part of an hin.
Right. So the people who think that you're just keeping some Old Testament stuff, they don't see Christ in this. They don't see Yahshua in this. But he's the one they claim to love. Understand, all of this was set before the foundation of the world as far as who Yahshua was and what was going to have to be done. Once that sin was committed, we already know who got to make it right. There wasn't nobody else who could make it right. Go ahead.
And you shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the selfsame day that you have brought an offering unto your Elohim. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings.
Right. So this is what we are taking part in tonight. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 16. And this is actually, you can just read that from that, brother. I already got that on the graphic.
3 times in a year shall all your males appear before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which he shall choose.
In the place where which he shall choose. When you go and start examining some of the various doctrines, you're going to find, and it was just something that, you know, I had a teacher, so I wasn't thinking that people was on something different. During the Feast of Tabernacles, you had a whole lot of congregation that was out in the woods. They use this as a camping trip. Feast of Tabernacles, it says, in the place which he shall choose. And then if you keep reading, it's the place where he chose to place his name there, because they must make an appearance. So instead of going out in the woods, we were supposed to be in the place where Yahweh chose to place his name there. Of course, if you go in the Old Testament and look at the first one, they in the woods. They didn't have no choice. They didn't have a place to go. Go ahead.
In the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
So, in the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you ought to make an appearance. When do you make that appearance? Put that back to the thing that we just read. You bring this sheaf of your first fruit. You bring that the day after the Shabbat of Feast of Unleavened Bread. Go ahead.
And in the Feast of Weeks.
This would be Pentecost. Go ahead.
And in the Feast of Tabernacles. And they shall not appear before Yahweh empty. Every man shall give as he is able.
So between those, like I said earlier, you will have to go from place to place. You can't just, open the Bible in the front and just read through. There are going to be some things that you're going to have to back up and read again after you get some understanding from another spot. Let's go to Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8, and let's start that at verse 1.
There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in the Mashiach Yahshua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit.
Now, how many times have we heard that? But I guarantee you heard it completely different, because they were using this. There's therefore no condemnation to them which are in Christ. They were using that to throw away the law. Keep reading.
For the law of the Spirit of life in the Mashiach Yahshua has made me free from the law of sin and death.
What is the law of sin and death? Whenever there's sin, something has to die. That was animal sacrifice. That is what that's dealing with. That has been thrown at us and been made for us to think that all law has been done away with. That is the law of sin and death. Somebody sin? The law is something has to die. Why? Because it's blood that makes atonement for sin. So consider all the sin that's in the world. There's automatically death that has to come with that. Go ahead.
For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, Elohim sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit.
Right. So we deal with the righteousness of the law, which is in the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law. Go ahead.
For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit.
Right. Because those that are after the flesh, that is what's constantly going to be on their mind. Go ahead.
For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace.
And a carnal mind will definitely lead to death, because you worry about all the things that do not matter at all. It will consume your thought process. Worrying about this, worrying about that. Bunch of carnal stuff. Go ahead.
Because the carnal mind is enmity against Elohim. For it is not subject to the law of Elohim, neither indeed can be.
Right. So they said we don't have to keep the law. Right. That's what carnal people believe. They don't believe that they're subject to the law. Go ahead.
So then they that are in the flesh cannot please Elohim. But you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if so be that the Spirit of Elohim dwell in you. Now if any man have not the Spirit of the Mashiach, he is none of his. And if the Mashiach be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Spirit is life because of righteousness. But if the Spirit of him that raised up Yahshua from the dead dwell in you, he that raised up the Mashiach from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his Spirit that dwells in you. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if you live after the flesh, you shall die. But if you through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, you shall live. For as many as are led by the Spirit of Elohim, they are the sons of Elohim.
For as many as are led by the Spirit of Elohim, they are the sons of Elohim. So this is bigger than any tribal breakdown as far as who we are. This is about whether or not we're going to be led by the Spirit of Elohim. And everybody has a decision that they can make on their own. They can decide that I'm just not going to be led by the Spirit. I'm going to do what I want to do. Go ahead.
For you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of Elohim.
Right. And the children of Elohim, this, like I said, could be anybody all over the earth. They have an opportunity to make a decision. But they have to hear the word first. And after that, a decision is able to be made. Go ahead.
And if children, then heirs, heirs of Elohim, and joint heirs with the Mashiach, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waits for the manifestation of the sons of Elohim.
Right. The whole earth is waiting for the manifestation of the sons of Elohim. The earth is tired of living the way that it has had to live under the inhabitants thereof, because the way that it is being ruled over is not according to righteousness. The whole earth is waiting for Israel to be in charge. Go ahead.
For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who has subjected the same in hope. Because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of Elohim.
When we read earlier today, the land of Israel is going to blossom and bud when Israel get in it. That land ain't supposed to look like it look. Go ahead.
For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man sees, why does he yet hope for it? But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. Likewise, the Spirit also helps our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought, but the Spirit itself makes intercessions for us with groanings which cannot be uttered.
The Spirit itself makes intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. But we've been taught we can. All we got to do is speak in tongues, and we can utter these things on our own. And what's interesting is the people who do it said that they do it after they caught the Spirit. Huh? So you can take the place of the Spirit by uttering it yourself. Go ahead.
And he that searches the hearts knows what is in the mind of the Spirit, because he maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of Elohim.
He makes intercession for the saints according to the will of Elohim. So, if you do what you're supposed to do, he's making intercession, but according to the will of Elohim. Meaning you praying for one thing, and he overriding your prayer. Yahweh, that ain't what he mean. He need this right here. No, but that ain't what he praying for. Yeah, I know. He don't know no better. You know, he ain't that bright. Look, this is what he need right here. Right. Spirit overrides your prayer. And quite frankly, that's what you want. See, I don't want to get nothing that's going to actually cause me more harm. So from time to time, I will give up. Look, Yahweh, you know that I'm still a fleshly man. Override this free will I got, I give it back to you. Because I might not make the right decision. I get in a situation, my decision ain't right, please override my decision. I asked for it. Some people don't think they're subject to bad decision making. I laugh at those people. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love Elohim, to them who are the called according to his purpose.
Mm-hmm.
For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren.
Uh-huh.
Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. And whom he called, them he also justified. And whom he justified, them he also glorified. What shall we then say to these things? If Elohim be for us, who can be against us?
And part of this, as you deal with this predestination, this part gets confusing unto man. See, there's the called, the chosen, and the predestined. The predestined could mess it up if they want to. If the predestined get off the path, he changes the path. Or he go get you and put you back on the path. They can't fail. He ain't gonna let them. So when you deal with this whole thing of Yahshua, this is why you have the confusing doctrine that we heard on Sunday morning about God being there in the front. They don't know the difference between Yahshua and Yahweh. They don't know the difference between Israel and Yahweh. So when it says, let us make man, this is why he was already there in the beginning. So when you're talking about predestined, when he says, let us make man, all right, we made man. Now man is messed up. We already know who got to fix that then. Wasn't this your idea, son? Then you said, let's go make this? Well, yeah, I did that. All right then. Take care of your business. I'm going to be right here. But then I'm going to have to go die for that. Yeah, that's what you're going to have to do, son. Yeah. I'll be right here, though. I got you. But hey, you said let us make man. I went along with your decision. Now, can't nobody write this but you. Nobody. You the only one that can make this right. Now, I give them a little animal sacrifice for the time being. Because we can't just get any old body and put you in. All right? There ain't no fleshly body that can hold your spirit like that. So it's going to take me a little time to build up something that can hold your spirit. This going to take a minute. But when the time is right, I'm going to let you know. That's why you read stuff and it says, he don't know the hour. No. Because your dad is still taking care of his business. Then he let him know, all right, I done built up enough generations to set forth some things. We got a body now. We got a body that's going to be able to hold this spirit. We're made of a regular union between a man and a woman. And I handpicked these people. So now let's go ahead and take care of your creation. Let's go make it right. And that's just part one. Go ahead.
Verse 32. He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all.
Mm-hmm.
How shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Who shall lay anything to the charge of Elohim's elect? It is Elohim that justifies. Who is he that condemneth? It is the Mashiach that died, yea, rather, that is risen again. Who is even at the right hand of Elohim, who also makes intercessions for us.
Right, he's making intercession for his creation. Nobody's going to care for his creation more than he is. So at that baptism, when that spirit descended in the shape of a bodily dove, and rested upon this body, then you see, here come Satan testing. You ever wonder why Satan didn't test that body the 30 years or the 29 years before? He don't care nothing about the body. He cares something about tempting the spirit that's in that body. I mean, he came immediately after baptism. He comes out the water, and here come Lou. What's happening? I've been waiting on you, dog. I've been waiting. Because here's the thing. Yeah, you created flesh, but you ain't never been in it. You ain't never felt what hunger is like. You ain't never felt what anger and aggression feel like in a fleshly body. You ain't never felt that. As a spirit, you think it, you get it. But this body you just got in, it has limitations. And I've been tempting this flesh for a long time now. So now, I'm going to play with you a little bit. Go fast. I'm going to show you the best looking food you ever seen in your life. Jump off this building right here. Why you want to tempt me like that? Because the spirit can do that. The limitations of this flesh, you're going to bust it wide open, you jump off this building. But let me test you now. Since you just got in this flesh. Lucifer and Yahshua were very well acquainted with one another. You ain't just witnessing something. You witnessing two spiritual brothers have a little chess match. And listen to the things and how he dealt with him. The adversary says one thing. Yahshua ends up, he basically takes the word and puts it out of context. Yahshua takes the word and put it back in context. He didn't say anything completely derogatory toward him. He didn't down him. He didn't say any of that. They were playing spiritual chess, and they all knew that they were going to have to play that game. Lucifer was waiting on him. That is why he led his people, look, go and try to kill all the children a certain age. Try to kill them off because we want to kill this entity before it becomes. See, he know he can't put the spirit in a 2-year-old. But you find people trying to worship everything. You know, he go to baby Christ. He go to this. No. His spirit ain't there yet. Go ahead.
You know, it's even interesting that you mentioned telling him to jump. You know, we've heard it many times, but you don't stop and think. If he jumped and he still didn't die, he's going to break a bone or something. It's going to be a blemished body.
Mm-hmm. You got it. And what? Not one bone could be broken. And this is why he had to go ahead and give up the ghost before they came to break his leg. So Lucifer really don't care how he make you fall. He don't care. He'll use anything. You are only as strong as the weakest link. So he'll look and find that weakest link anywhere in the house. He don't have no pride like that. Like, I'm gonna kick down this metal door. Lucifer like, well, ain't there a straw one in the back? Well, I'm gonna hurt my foot trying to kick down this metal door. I got a straw door in the back. And they been sitting up there like some kind of fool, kicking through this big metal door. They got reinforced metal beams in it, and you just kicking all that. He like, it's a straw door in the back. Just pull the straw out the way and walk through. So you gotta ask yourself, where your straw door at? And if you ain't got none, you might be the straw door. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 35. Who shall separate us from the love of the Mashiach? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword?
Who shall separate us from the love of the Mashiach? Man, I'm Zion the bus, baby. Ain't nothing stopping me from this. Nothing. You ain't on this path with me? Hey, hated it. I see you when I get there. I'll tell a story about you. Hopefully, you'll make it later on. I don't know. But I'm not getting off this path. Who shall separate us from this? What will you allow to separate you from the love of the Mashiach? What could possibly be that good that it can talk you out of the love of the Mashiach? There ain't nothing earthly good enough that's going to talk me out of this. Go ahead.
As it is written, for your sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors, through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Elohim.
Right. So if something separates you from the love of Elohim, you chose to. It didn't have the ability to separate you from Elohim. You chose. See, that's the one thing you know when you read in the beginning of this book. It says the woman was deceived. The man made a decision. No, he chose to go against Elohim. That was his choice. He decided he was going to listen to his woman over Yahweh. That's something altogether different. Go ahead.
Which is in the Mashiach Yahshua, our Adonai.
All right. And read the scripture on this next graphic here.
Yirmiyah chapter 2 and verse 3. Israel was holiness unto Yahweh, and the first fruits of his increase. All that devour him shall offend. Evil shall come upon them, says Yahweh.
So Israel is Yahweh's first fruits. And why not? His firstborn son is Israel. You are named after him. How could you not be the first fruit of the earth? See, when people think you're just keeping some Old Testament, Old Covenant things, this is you. You are the first fruit. Who were the first people to hear any of the word standing at that mount? Israel. Wasn't nobody else standing there. That's why he says, Israel, you are my witnesses. Wasn't nobody else there. They don't get the word unless they come through you. You are the first fruits. See, this thing goes in order. And that's what the nations don't like. They don't like the order. Because when people mistreat you, the last thing they want to hear is they got to go through you after they done mistreated you. You're the last one they want to see. They say, oh yeah, such and such got your check. Who? Remember that guy you was mean and you cussed out? He got my check. Well, you could have gave anybody my check. Why you give it to him? Because I knew you'd cuss him out. This is your best humbling experience. Now go to that dude that you cussed out and go get your check. Right. That means you got to have some heart check before you get your check. Right. Right. Yahweh know what he's doing. He know exactly what he's doing. And the nations don't really want to see you. They don't want to see you like that. Because they don't want to acknowledge what they've done. But Yahweh gonna make it be so. That it's not gonna be a situation where you're gonna get to not acknowledge what's been done to Israel. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. First Corinthians chapter 15, and let's start that at verse 1.
Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which I preached unto you, which also you have received, and wherein you stand, by which also you are saved, if you keep in memory what I preached unto you, unless you have believed in vain. For I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, how that the Mashiach died for our sins according to the scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the scriptures, and that he was seen of Cephas, then of the 12. After that, he was seen above 500 brethren at once, of whom the greater part remain unto this present, but some are fallen all asleep. After that, he was seen of Jacob, then of all the apostles. And last of all, he was seen of me also, as of one born out of due time. For I am the least of the apostles, that am not to meet to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of Elohim.
Not understanding the word, he went directly by the Old Testament law, and anybody that started dealing with this doctrine of Yahshua, he had authorization to throw him in prison. Go ahead.
But by the grace of Elohim I am what I am, and his grace which was bestowed upon me was not in vain, but I labored more abundantly than they all.
Right. I labored more abundantly than they all. Why? Because he remembered all the stuff that he did wrong. Our problem is we don't remember what we did wrong. That's why we don't work like that. That's why you find some people, their labor is small. What did he say concerning the harlot? He said, who do you think will love him most? He said, the one to whom he's forgiven most. Right. See, those people who already think they were pretty, they had it going on before they got here. So, I ain't really do that much wrong. I ain't really got to do that much work. But for those who actually remember the things that they have done, they said, no. I got work to do. Go ahead.
Yet not I, but the grace of Elohim which was with me. Therefore, whether it were I or they, so we preach, and so you believe. Now if the Mashiach be preached that he rose from the dead, how say some among you that there is no resurrection of the dead? But if there be no resurrection of the dead, then the Mashiach is not risen. And if the Mashiach be not risen, then is our preaching in vain, and your faith is also vain. Yea, and we are found false witnesses of Elohim, because we have testified of Elohim that he raised up the Mashiach, whom he raised not up, if so be that the dead rise not. For if the dead rise not, then is not the Mashiach raised. And if the Mashiach be not raised, your faith is vain. You are yet in your sins.
When you look at this, when you deal with the situation of Lazarus, Yeshua said, I'm glad that I wasn't there, that y'all might believe. But in no way, shape, fashion, or form, when you talk to his sister, she didn't think he was going to heaven. He said, your brother shall rise again. She said, I know he shall rise again at the last day in the resurrection. So where we get the heaven doctrine from? Because it sure didn't come from them, because they didn't believe in none of that. See, that came later on, that we think everybody who has passed away is in heaven. This book say they're asleep. Go ahead.
Then they also which are fallen asleep in the Mashiach are perished.
What? They are fallen what?
Asleep.
Okay. But you know what make us feel warm and cozy? They're looking down on us right now. Oh, they're looking at us. I'm sure that make you feel real warm and cozy, but it's a lie. This book says over and over, they are asleep. Over and over, it says the same thing. But you know what? We rather believe a nicely dressed liar. Sound real good when they say that. You do know they got a couple $1,000 to get up there and tell that lie too, right? You do know they was paid. That's what a hireling does. They got paid to tell that lie to your family. So that's the part you didn't know. The pastor just didn't get up there and say your auntie was in heaven out of the goodness of his heart. You look close enough, you see that envelope slide to the side. Right. That was the payment that he got to tell that lie. Go ahead.
Verse 19. If in this life only we have hope in the Mashiach, we are of all men most miserable. But now is the Mashiach risen from the dead, and become the first fruits of them that slept. For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead.
But now is the Mashiach risen from the dead, and become the first fruits of them that slept. So he has become the first fruits on first fruits. Yet the majority of people have never even heard of first fruit. But they claim that they love the Mashiach. They claim they love Christ. People will show up for Passover and have no idea what first fruits is. He was raised as first fruits on first fruits. But we go to church on Sunday, they won't even mention nothing about it. This is why we hadn't heard of it. Because we went years and years to those places. They mention absolutely nothing about first fruit, but tell you that they loved him every week. This holy day was made specifically dealing with his resurrection. Because he was going to have to pay for our debt. You couldn't pay for it. I couldn't pay for it. Go ahead.
For as in Adam all die, even so in Yahshua shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order. The Mashiach the first fruits, afterward they that are the Mashiachs at his coming.
Afterwards, they that are the Mashiachs are at his coming. So he's the first fruits. Then there has to be first fruits of regular men. Go ahead.
Then comes the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to Elohim, even the Father.
Right. He shall deliver the kingdom up to Elohim, even the Father. When you get down to listening to people, they talk about the Son and the Father like they're the same entity. Go ahead.
When he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power. For he must reign till he has put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. For he that put all things under his feet. But when he saith all things are put under him, it is manifest that he is expected, which did put all things under him. And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that Elohim may be all in all. Else what shall they do which are baptized for the dead, if the dead rise not at all? Why are they yet then baptized for the dead? And why stand we in jeopardy every hour? I protest by your rejoicing, which I have in the Mashiach Yahshua our Adonai, I die daily. If after the manner of men I have fought with beasts at Ephesus, what advantage it me, if the dead rise not? Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. Be not deceived, evil communication corrupt good manners.
Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. There's some conversations we're supposed to cut off in its infancy. Because it ain't going to do nothing but lead to some mess. And we trying to have every conversation. There's some conversation when it start up. You know what? This is about to end in some mess. You start walking in. Let them follow you and talk. Where you going? I'm leaving that conversation. Because ain't no fruit in this conversation here. This is finna end in some mess. Evil communications corrupt good manners. You keep on talking and having an evil conversation, then you're going to start entertaining some of that evil. We want to listen to everybody on the internet. Before you know it, we're picking up some of them strange thoughts and we don't know where they come from. Evil communication. Evil communications is so bad, it does not have to be physically in the room. Somebody can call you on the phone with a bad spirit. You talk to them for 3, 4, 5 minutes. And when you hang up the phone, you got the same bad spirit that they had. What happened? They dropped off their spirit to you. And you took it. And you don't know why the rest of your day messed up. Because they dropped off that bad spirit with you. Go ahead.
Awake to righteousness and sin not, for some have not the knowledge of Elohim. I speak this to your shame. But some man will say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come? You fool, that which you soweth is not quickened, except it die. And that which you soweth not that body that shall be, but bare grain. It may chance of wheat or of some other grain. But Elohim gives it a body as it has pleased him, and to every seed his own body.
Right. You don't plant a seed and then get a bigger seed. You plant a seed and get a fruit or a vegetable. You don't want a bigger seed. Go ahead.
All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial.
All that means is heavenly and earthly. You listening to folk, they'll try to make this sound like it's some deep stuff. They're celestial and terrestrial. Yeah, man. Heavenly and earthly. But move on, man. Go ahead.
But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another.
Right. You ain't gonna be able to do the things that angels can do. Don't try it. You ain't got that kind of body. Go ahead.
There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, for one star differs from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption.
Right. So then they're going to be, even in the resurrection, they're going to be different levels of bodies within that resurrection. See? So it's not going to all be the same, even when we look at and read the things about the angels. When Daniel prayed, Gabriel was sent. But there was a stronger angel than him that wouldn't let him reach Daniel. Then Michael had to come that was stronger than Gabriel to free him so he could go and deliver his message. So all the angels don't have the same level of strength. They differ in glory. Go ahead.
It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The last Adam was made a quickening spirit. Howbeit, that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterward that which is spiritual.
Right. So the natural comes first, the spiritual part comes after that. You have a natural birth proceeding out of your mother's womb. You have a spiritual birth getting out of that baptism water. The natural comes first. Go ahead.
The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is the Adonai from heaven. As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy. And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly. And as we have borne the image of the earthy, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Elohim, neither does corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed.
Right. So you have a situation here. There are some that are going to live or be alive when this part of the resurrection happens with the Mashiach. So we shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. Go ahead.
In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality.
And then this still follows the order that is written in this book. Israel moves at the sound of the trumpet. Why do you think we blow the shofar and then we gather? Israel moves by the sound of the trumpet. It says when Yahweh spake, they heard a loud trumpet. Go ahead.
So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your sting? O grave, where is your victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law.
Right. Because remember, after this sin was committed by man in the garden, what he did was then cover him with skins. He sacrificed an animal, and then he gave them an order about burial. Wasn't supposed to be no death for that. Wasn't no need to talk about death. They weren't supposed to die. But once they decided to sin, there was left no intercessor. Because man, instead of standing up being the head of the house, what he did was follow the woman. Let's say the woman did take the fruit and eat it, and he decided not to. Guess what? He was available to be an intercessor. See, here's the problem when you ain't got but two. You both can't follow the messed up stuff. Somebody got to stand up. So when he decided to follow her, no intercessor. Now here come Yahshua. Now here comes the God of Israel. Now we got to figure out how we going to fix this. I created the man. I gave him the woman. He took the woman's word over mine. Then he sinned with her. We got to figure out how we going to fix this. Go ahead.
You know, just to add to what you were saying, that there should have been no death for man, it was put in the statement when he told them, the day you eat of the tree of knowledge, you shall surely die. So had they not eaten of the tree, they would have never died.
The problem is, whose day was he dealing with? See? And that's what the adversary used. It says when she ate of it, she saw that it was good for food. In other words, she didn't die right away. And that's what we're using. If something doesn't happen to us immediately, we think we got away with it. Why you think people keep robbing banks? They can rob the first one. Man, you see all this money, and they didn't catch us. Here they go again, and again, and again, till eventually, you know what happens. So the adversary used that little pause there. So you see, the woman ate from this. And look, man, she's smarter than you. Man, don't know she's not going to be smarter than me. I'm just give me some too. Let me bite it. Let me get a bite of that death. Right. Congratulations. Now there's no intercessor for the house. Congratulations. I got you both. With one swing, I got you both. See, somebody got to stand. In some situations, it may be the woman. It may be the woman that has to make intercession for her husband, because he may be the one to go over there and bite it. Go over there, find some old strange doctrine, he over there. She might have to, Yahweh, please forgive him. He don't know no better. She might have to go and do that. But if she go with him, who gonna save the house? The whole thing is about preserving the house. Who's going to be there to save it? We got to learn from these same old things. We cannot keep making the same mistakes. Go ahead, brother. Did you finish that?
Verse 57. But thanks be to Elohim, which gives us the victory through our Adonai Yahshua the Mashiach. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be you steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Adonai, for as much as you know that your labor is not in vain in the Adonai.
Therefore, my beloved brethren, be you steadfast, unmovable. Unmovable. I ain't going to be persuaded to get off of this. I don't care how articulate you can make it sound. I don't care how sweet you can make it sound. I ain't moving off this path. Knowing that your labor is not in vain. Let's go to Revelation chapter 14. Revelation 14, and let's read verses 1 through 5.
And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having his father's name written in their foreheads.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harps harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne, and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth.
If they were redeemed from the earth, these are people who were pulled from the earth. And as we read about this 144,000, we know that those are 12,000 from all of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. And they are going to follow the Mashiach everywhere he goes. So now you're talking about this priesthood. Remember, Yahweh had already said in the beginning we were a kingdom of priests, not a tribe of priests, a kingdom of priests. So now you got Yahshua, the first fruit, coming along with another set of first fruit. Go ahead.
These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins.
Right. They're not defiled with women. They just got born again. They just got a new body. Not that they had never been with women. They were redeemed from the earth. Dude might have had 10 kids. But that was the old body, though. That the new body ain't done none of that. That's the new stuff. See? What I tell you, at sundown, you the cleanest you ever gonna be. I love it when Yahweh teach me while I'm teaching somebody else. I had never thought about that ever before. I was like, man, that makes complete sense. This is the cleanest you ever gonna get right here. He has us meeting at sundown. You are completely without sin on this day. They get this new body, they are virgins. This is a new body. It has not been defiled with anything. Go ahead.
These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goes.
Uh-huh.
These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto Elohim and to the Lamb.
Right. And you know, people talk about this like this was supposed to be, you know, this thing where I remember the Jehovah's Witness was saying that they were all the 144,000. Of course, until they got more than 144,000 people, then they had to figure out how they were going to alter that lie. And people say, oh, you think you could be one of the 104,000? I hope the hell not, because them people dead. I'd like to live if it's okay with you. These people redeemed from me. They pulled out from the earth. I like to deal with things convenient for my level of understanding. If Yahweh choose so, you let him choose so. I leave other stuff alone. They are redeemed from men. We can count on one hand the number of people that were just pulled from the earth and still have a few fingers left. But the first fruit of the whole earth is Israel. And if we let anybody talk you out of that, you're letting people talk you out of your inheritance. You'd be a fool to let somebody talk you out of your inheritance. It's yours. You already earned it. It is your birthright. And all you got to do is walk the way you're supposed to walk, and you get all of your inheritance. That's all that we're going to do for tonight. Remember that we are to make our appearance. All males must make an appearance before Yahweh 3 times in the year, and none shall appear before him empty. It is now 10:21. We will be making our appearance at 10:35. For all of the brothers who listen online and on the call line, you have about 14 minutes. We will get started right at 10:35 because we have people that are spread out and they would like to make their appearance all at the same time with us as a congregation. That's all that we're going to do for tonight. Shalom.
Shalom.